Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through exactly how to set up a WordPress website on Cloudways. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have a live WordPress website with your SSL certificate, a domain, a custom domain, and all the foundational things you need to create a fast and secure website. Now, you'll see from the length of this video that this is not just an ordinary little 5-minute introduction to Cloudways or everything like that. If I was going to do this video, I wanted to ensure that it was as valuable as I possibly could make it. And because I know that there's a lot out there who just, that maybe you're an agency owner, maybe you're a freelancer, or another web designer, or a small business owner, and you're just confused with all the people out there, with all the different hosting providers out there. And then, you might decide on one, but then you don't really know how to set it all up. There's so much noise out there. I wanted to create this video to be as clear as possible and give you clarity on why I believe that Cloudways is the single best hosting platform out there. Having used many of them over the years, these are the guys that I've stuck with and have now used for many years. And before we jump in the tutorial, why ever listen to me? Why Cloudways? Why am I talking about these guys? Well, if you don't know me already, which I'm guessing is probably you don't, the first time you've seen me, that my name's Isaac and I've been working in the web design, digital marketing space for nearly 10 years now. And I have used so many different hosting providers over the years, and most of the time I just wasn't happy with them. And eventually I stumbled upon Cloudways, and ever since then, for many years now, they have been the ones that I have used for all my client work, for my own business, and for all my websites. And so I've actually been able to partner with these guys as well, having now used them for years, and actually get you guys an incredible deal, a discount on which you're going to see linked below. That so far, I haven't seen anyone else on YouTube being able to do, but I was able to, set this up because I personally love them and I've been using them for many years now. And so they've actually come through and helped to sponsor this video as well. But I was already going to be making this video regardless of them contacting me. So whether you're an agency owner, a freelancer, a web designer, a small business owner, by the end of this video, you're gonna have a fully functioning WordPress website on Cloudways, and all the foundational things you need for a fast, secure website. Regardless of how you got here, whether you're looking for a new hosting provider, you're fed up with another one, or you're just interested in learning more about Cloudways, or you're ready to just actually take action on Cloudways, doesn't matter. I made this video to be the ultimate tutorial on Cloudways, take you from beginning to end. So by the end of it, you deeply understand Cloudways and all the potential with it that takes it far above your ordinary traditional hosting and makes it the most #1 choice for agencies, service providers, freelancers, and web designers. So if you've clicked onto this video, you've done the right thing, because I wanted to make this as valuable as possible. All right, guys, so with that out of the way, let's now get into the tutorial. Cheers. Okay, so here is a bit of a quick breakdown of what we're going to go through in this tutorial. Now, I don't want to make this into just a, slideshow presentation for you. So, if you're someone that doesn't need to know all this sort of thing, feel free to skip ahead directly into the actual build and going through and doing it all. But this is important, I feel, for a lot of you who are just getting started and want an introduction to things. Okay, so what we're going to essentially do by the end of this tutorial, you're going to have a Cloudways server and application set up, and I'm also going to be walking you through understanding of what they even mean, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking, that sounds a bit confusing, Cloudways server and application. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through exactly what all that means and how to set it up and why it's worth it. And then we're going to also have a live WordPress website by the end of it. WordPress is what I use for all my clients and what I personally recommend, what I use for all my websites. And it is still the best, website builder, in my opinion, on the internet. And it's why it is still one of the #1 drivers of so many websites on the internet. And then you're also going to have a domain connected. You're going to have an SSL certificate installed, which is super important and often overlooked. I'm going to show you how to configure backups so that, you can do that from within Cloudways and you can see how that works. And then you're also going to understand how, you can do that within WordPress itself, and then just some basic speed optimization things completed, and everything like that. So you're going to have a lot by the end of this tutorial. Okay, so this wasn't just going to be a little basic Cloudways video, but I wanted to do this for someone who's used Cloudways now for years and years for both my own websites and for clients. I wanted to make this a full in-depth tutorial. Okay, so let's keep going. So who is this tutorial for? So this tutorial is for business owners, small business owners, online business owners, e-com store owners, anyone who is an entrepreneur or business owner who's looking to create a website for themselves. It's also great for bloggers. It's for freelancers, for agencies. That's a huge one for using, if you're not already aware of Cloudways, this is going to be amazing for you. And essentially anyone who wants a faster WordPress website, because speed is everything when it comes to the internet. So speed is everything when it comes to websites. So that is why I highly recommend going. So that is why we're going to be, that's what we're going through in this tutorial. And of course, there is no technical background required. You don't need to be some tech guru or, really know a lot about tech to be able to go through this. I've made it to be as easy and accessible as possible. So in this tutorial, we'll be covering what Cloudways is, hosting fundamentals, launching your first server, installing WordPress, connecting a domain, SSL certificates, email setup, backups and security, speed optimization, multiple websites on one server. That is a big benefit to Cloudways itself. And we're also going to be going briefly over my recommended website stack, having now built websites for nearly 10 years through WordPress. Okay, now why does hosting matter? Why does it even matter what person you go with through hosting? There's that many hosting providers out there. However, hosting is far more than just something as an afterthought to do whatever with. It is a foundational thing for the basis of your website, because if your hosting directly impacts your website speed, your user experience, your SEO, your reliability, and ultimately your conversions. So a great website, as I've said here, on a poor hosting will still feel slow. So it doesn't matter how good your website is, if you've got poor hosting and it's slow, then it's still going to be slow. So, it's so important that we have good hosting. Now, I just want to quickly touch on as well, traditional versus cloud hosting. Now, because some of you will be sitting there thinking, well, what is Cloudways? How is it any different to, something like traditional hosting? So I'm just going to explain the two for those who want to understand it. So traditional hosting, things like, that you would have heard before, likely Hostinger, SiteGround, Bluehost, all of those are your traditional hosts. They are shared environments. They have very limited resources and they have performance bottlenecks, and they vary wildly in prices and everything like that. Some of them can seem a lot cheaper, but actually in the long run, it's going to cost you money because you actually end up needing to scale anyway, as your website grows and everything. And there's also a lot of the time hidden costs that you don't really know until you actually go to sign up with them. They're never really as much as they look on that, but of course they have their time, they have their place. But someone who's been building websites now for 10 years, close to 10 years, I've tried them all. Maybe not all of them, but I've tried a lot of them. And, I eventually found Cloudways and have stuck with them now for many, many years. And again, I use them for all my clients and as well as my own websites. So essentially, what is Cloudways? What is cloud hosting? It's just dedicated resources. It's better scalability. It's fast performance and greater reliability. Now, I could go into, the deeper specifics of how cloud hosting is so much different than traditional hosting, but I just wanted to do a very basic overview of the two. Okay, so let's just quickly go now into common problems that I personally have seen with, your cheap, common hosting is like your traditional hosting is slow load time, shared resources, server overcrowding, downtime, limited performance, poor support. These issues become more noticeable as your website grows. So maybe you're just starting out, you could get away with it, but as you grow, naturally, you're going to need better hosting, and you're going to quickly find that, you quickly go over your resources, And, you know, a website that is slow is one of the biggest turnoffs for people when they come to a website. So here's why I use and personally recommend Cloudways. So after using various providers over the years, Cloudways became my preferred choice because it offers excellent website speed, access to premium cloud providers, easy WordPress management, which is huge, and install as well, scalable hosting, great value for money, ability to host multiple websites on one server. So you're going to see what I mean by that. That is massive because, you know, you go with these other hosting providers, you're only really ever going to get most of the time one domain on it. And then, you know, if you want to have additional domains, you're going to have to pay per domain. Whereas here, we can set up a server, and then we're at the top. Think of the server as the top, and then we can create multiple applications below it, which are going to be our websites, which means you can create multiple websites, multiple landing pages if you need that for a certain reason, or, you know, if you're someone with lots of ideas, or if you're an agency or you're someone who wants to build websites for others, you know, you can easily host multiple websites on the one server, which is amazing. And then strong performance for both client and personal websites, and great customer service. Now that is a huge one. Now I'm not just saying that for the sake of it. I have used so many different platforms over the years, like I mean a lot, and, you know, most of them did not have great service. However, with Cloudways, I have never ever had an issue with their customer service. They've been absolutely amazing and always kind and always helpful. And, you know, they've been able to help me over the years as I was gathering my understanding of things like that. So that's why another reason I want to recommend to you guys, because they're perfect for beginners as well, not above all these other things. But it means that, you know, you've got that peace of mind. If something goes wrong, you're a bit confused, you can easily get on the customer service at any time and have a good chat with them and get things sorted. So that is a big one for me. And then essentially, what is Cloudways? So essentially, it is Cloudways is a managed cloud hosting platform that lets you launch your WordPress websites, or you can also do applications, and you'd even do the AI builder websites. That you know, eventually I might show how to bring those across as well to Cloudways. But for now, we're talking about WordPress. So it's amazing for WordPress. You know, you got a different servers that we can choose here. So we can choose cloud hosting on Vultr, DigitalOcean, AWS, Google Cloud. You're going to see the two that I recommend the most, which is these two up here. And then, you know, without actually having to manage servers yourself, which is time consuming, costly, something you don't want to do. So let's just do one final overview of why hosting matters. So at the end of the day, as I've said here, hosting impacts the speed of your website, and a better speed means a better user experience, better SEO, higher conversions, and ultimately more revenue for whatever it is that you're creating a business. So it doesn't have to always be revenue. Maybe it's more clients, it's more, you know, eyeballs, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, most of you are probably here wanting to use this to create a business or some kind of service to make an income, make revenue. So that is, at the end of the day, why hosting is so important, and why I made this tutorial to go deep into Cloudways, so that you are set up, ready to go to create your very own, to, you know, start using Cloudways moving forward, and, you know, never look back, because they are honestly the single best, you know, hosting provider out there, in my opinion. Okay, so yeah, a faster website in the end benefits both visitors and business owners. All right. That's it. That's done. Let's now get into building out your Cloudways account, setting up Cloudways, and so you can have your website built out. Let's go. Okay, so now let's actually get into setting up Cloudways. Okay, so down the link in the description below, you are going to find a link in both the comments and the description below. You're going to find a link to a sign up for Cloudways. Now, because I'm actually partnered with Cloudways, and because I've been using them for years now personally myself, for my own clients and my own websites, I've been able to actually organize a really good deal with you, and this is the highest possible deal that you can get with Cloudways, and this is not one you really see around YouTube. I've looked around the other guys and they don't have this. So this is, a very good, I was so grateful when they were able to set this up for you guys. And, I wanted to make sure that we had for you guys, if you're going to be going through this, you're getting a really good deal. So what I've been able to set up is, for the first 3 months, 30% off. So 30% off for the first 3 months. which is an awesome deal, which saves, great amount of money for the first 3 months. And, as aside from that, just also, you can think of it like this, that it's helping to support this channel, help me to be able to keep creating free content like this. Obviously, there's no obligation. You don't have to use my affiliate link, but I'm going to go the link down in the description. And also the code is just simply Isaac Design. You can see in a moment how we go through and use that. Okay, so all we're going to do is just go through to start free here. So you're just going to come to here, and all you're going to do is you can select any of these here, or you can just go through and put in your details. So I'm going to put in my details here. And then here, it doesn't really matter what you select whether business, doesn't really matter what you select for this either. And then you're just going to tick this one here if you haven't already, gone through the link, or it's just, this is the easiest way to do it. You go through here and you're just going to type in Isaac Design like that. And then you hit agree here. And see, it's got a tick, and that's again going to allow you to get 30% off for the first 3 months, which is awesome. And yeah, again, it's just another little way to support the channel, but it's completely up to you, but I'd highly recommend taking it, if it's there. Okay. So all we're going to do then is just simply hit sign up. Once you've done all that, you've signed up for Cloudways, you've gone through, and you might have had to go through some, validation checks and everything before you got here through your email and a mobile number. Once you've done that though, you'll be inside of it. Now my inside here may look a little bit different because I turned out that I couldn't use that email you initially saw before, because when it needed my mobile verification, because I've used it on another account, it was saying that I needed to contact support just to get this set up. So I've just gone in for an account I already have with them, another account, not my main one, but another account that I have. And, so it might look slightly different. So you guys might come to one main screen that then just says launch your server, but it also might look like this as well, because, they update their UI pretty frequently, but all the processes and, everything else is going to be the exact same. Okay. So what I want to do is, what we're going to do is we're going to go across over here, and you're going to go to my servers, or you can click start server in the center here if it is coming up that way for you. But we're just going to go to my servers here, and then it's going to say I don't have it. So you might just have a screen like this when you first open up. I'm guessing you're probably seeing something like this where it's your managed server, launch now. If you don't see that, just simply go to here, flexible servers will pop up, and you just go to server here, launch now. So we're just going to click that. Okay, so now we're going to get into actually setting up our Cloudways account. Now you're going to be looking at this and thinking, okay, I'm a little bit confused of what to choose. I know the very first time I did, I thought, geez, this is just, I don't even know what this is and whatever it is. So don't worry though, I'm here to guide you through it, and I'm going to show you what I recommend as the best settings. Now, first thing you want to do is pick from here. You want to choose optimize WordPress, not just WordPress that I own. By default, it will choose it anyway, but just make sure you choose this one. So what this means is it's going to install WordPress for us, which is so easy. On other platforms, you have to go through cPanel, and then you have to go through, to find the little app icon and install WordPress. Here, it's open up straight away. As easy as that, we can install WordPress. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do then is just go through, and you can give your application a name. So we can call this, whatever you want. It's your website's name, your business's name. I'm just going to call it my website. And then your server, you can call it whatever you want. My server, doesn't really matter. Could be anything you want, honestly. Project name, again, this could just be, this could be whatever your website is. Okay, so this could just be my website again. So it'll make more sense when I show you how to create multiple applications for those that want it, as in multiple websites on the one server. But for now, just really whatever you want to have. It doesn't matter all that much. It's just from your end. Okay, so next thing is you got these two options here. Now you got Lightning Stack or Hybrid Stack. Now I'd go with Lightning Stack. having used the two now myself, I can personally say this one definitely is faster. And I've transferred all mine across to that. And, it's the recommended default one, and it doesn't really change the price all that much anyway, maybe by $1 or $2. Okay, so I recommend you go through for that. Now, you've got all these different options here. You've got either DigitalOcean, Vultr, Linode, AWS, Google Cloud. Now, they're actually locked at the moment because I'm not on a paid account yet, because as you see, when you first sign up, you actually get a 3-day free trial, which is awesome. So you just play around, get it working for you and everything. However, I'm going to show you that I recommend you actually do put in your, your bank details, just so that, it's very important, because when you're setting it up, I've seen it happen before. I've even had it happen to me. You can sign up, and then, if you don't put your bank detail, you don't put the card details in, at least, what happens is when, inevitably the free trial ends, they don't automatically charge you, but you will actually, after a bit of time, they may actually remove your server, and then you can just chat to support and ask them to get it turned back on. However, it's just easier to put it there, and, all other hosting providers, you're going to have to pay up front anyway. So just for that peace of mind, I don't have to do it, but I would highly recommend you do it within those 3 days. You don't have to do it right away, but, day 2, day 3 before it ticks over, definitely want to, consider putting that in. Just going to make your life a lot easier. But anyway, I digress. Back to, picking between these. Now, the two that I recommend that I would either go is either DigitalOcean or Vultr. Now, DigitalOcean and Vultr, they're both really good service. DigitalOcean's the cheapest. Vultr is, pretty much the same price, but it can be, a little bit more expensive, a tiniest bit more difference in price, but you get what you pay for, because it's a step up again. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you guys what you want to choose. I'm personally just going to go DigitalOcean. That's been good enough for me. Now, you've got, but then next thing you want to do is, so database type, just choose the default one that's already there. So MariaDB. For you guys, you're not going to need to worry about what even these two are, okay? That's going to work fine for a WordPress website. And then we're going to come down here. So we've got our different tiers we can choose from. So we can go 1 gigabyte. You see it's $14. Now, if you have used my Isaac Design coupon code, again, this is one last time to say it, you will actually be seeing around $11 or $10 or something like that there. You're going to see it a lot cheaper for the first 3 months. Or, so yeah, if you have used that already, you haven't, remember you get linked down below. So what are we going to choose for these here? So you can go 1 gigabyte, you can go 2 gigabyte, you can go right up to here, and you see the price increases there. Now, none of you are going to need anything like that, but I'll tell you the beauty of this is it's very easy to upgrade. So having used a lot of, things that, having used a lot of posting providers over the years, I can tell you it's not always easy to upgrade, but with these guys, they've made it amazingly easy. So you can just, here at any time you start to increase, traffic to your website, you can increase it, and it just means that it matches your revenues increasing, then $54 a month seems, reasonable and everything like that. But for most people first starting out, you're only ever going to need a 1 or a 2 gigabyte website to start, 2 gigabytes. Okay. So I'm just going to say to go, ideally the best one would be to start at 2 gig, but again, I've run it on 1 gig before and I've tested it and it runs fast and really well. So really in the end, it's just up to you, and remembering you can update it at any time. So I'm just going to leave it on 1 gigabyte for today for this one. And then I'm going to go to a server site. Now, for this one, you essentially select wherever your main client base is going to be. So just say you are someone in America and you are going to be running, most of your clients are going to be, in America because you're a local service business, then you're going to choose something like New York. But if you're in the UK, you choose London. And for me, being in Australia, I choose Sydney here. And it just means that the data centers So the servers are closest to wherever your customers are, which is just going to add that, that small, it can help with speed, just that tiniest bit more. Now, I know some of you are thinking there, well, Isaac, I'm creating a business that's going to serve all over the world. Well, then in that case, I'd still probably go there New York or something like that, because, it can be work for globally in that way. But if you're a service-based business and you're just serving only in your own country, then choose whichever city is closest to you. So for me, I'm going to choose Sydney there. Okay, so we've got there $14 a month. So amazingly cheap for what you're getting, because you're getting so much control over all this. So honestly, it's the best thing that that you could be doing for yourself. Okay, so we've got all those things: Lightning Stack, optimized WordPress, basic is all we need, MariaDB, DigitalOcean or Vultr, 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabyte. I'm going with 1 gigabyte for now, and then we're going down to Sydney, and then I'm just simply going to hit launch now. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to see that the server is being installed now. So it's going to say it's going to take approximately 7 minutes. It rarely ever takes that long. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to go into is, now that our server set up, you'll see that if we go to here, applications, you're going to see that your website is going to be there. So whatever you called your application, whatever you called when we installed WordPress, it's going to be there. So if I click here, you'll see now this is our website. So this is just a temporary domain for our website here. So you'll see it's just temporary there, and don't worry that it looks like nothing at all. That doesn't matter. That's just, the initial install. I'll go through and show you guys how you actually, get it set up ready to go. But before I do that, I want to walk you through so you understand, just the main parts of the dashboard and what's going to be most important for you. Okay. So we are going to go, okay. But before we go into, the other parts like our SSL certificates, setting up our own domain, little things for our, for our setting up WordPress, I just want to quickly go over so you guys understand, how Cloudways works. Now, if we go back to home, you'll see there's a main part here. So our applications, this is where your applications live. So as in, whenever you create a new website, like we just did then, we installed WordPress, you're going to have them sitting here. So what that means is that at any time you can go to here and then go to applications, add application, and then you just type in, you choose the server. So this is meaning at no extra cost, add application. Then we go through and we hit optimize WordPress. We would type in here, this, and then Lightning Stack, because it's going to be on all that. And then we just simply hit add application. And then, so we just call it, let's just make sure it's called website 2. And then project, you can give it another project name, but we're just going to have it on that. Then we're just going to go here and we're going to hit add application. Okay, and then once that's done, you're going to see here, I go to applications, and now I've got my 2 websites there. So just a little caveat, this doesn't mean you can have a million websites and applications on there. If you start adding way too many, it is going to slow things down. However, you could have 5, 8, maybe 10 at most, which is still amazing. If you're on 2 gig, on a 1 or 2 gigabyte one. But if you had a 4 gig, you could have a lot more websites on it. It's really just up to you. But I'm just letting you know that you want to still, think about how many websites you're actually putting on your server. But just, you could keep it around, 5 to 10 at absolute most if you're on a 1 or 2 gigabyte one, depending on the size of the website, of course. So I just wanted to let you know about that. But a lot of you are probably going to need 1, 2, 3, not a heap of different websites. But anyway, so that's our applications, our servers, and everything like that. Now you're going to see on this side here, we've got all these different things. For you, you're not really going to need to know. All you need to know is my servers. We click this, and this is where you will see your servers. For you guys, you're probably only ever going to need to set up 1 server. But if you wanted to set up another, that would be another expense. That then essentially, the way you would look at this is you have 1 server, and, you know, maybe have multiple websites on that. And then, you know, you wanted to set up another one for clients or for your agency or whatever. It's up to you, but just think of each server then having its own applications in it. And I'll let you decide from there how that would look if you ever needed to do it. Okay, so that is the option there, which is fantastic. You can add additional servers as well. Now, in terms of these other things here, you know, don't really need to worry about that. I don't really, you know, use that myself. This one here, all these not really applicable to a lot of you. You know, I'm not using these yet. I haven't really needed them, but maybe this site manager could be worth considering. So easily and optimize all your WordPress applications within Cloudways. Yeah, so, you know, it can have its time and place, but for now, like for the majority of people, and personally how I use it, is I'm just inside the, you know, the applications and my server, and then from there I control each application that I've set up, so each website that I've set up. Now, another thing here, I said in the beginning that the customer support is amazing with Cloudways. And that's one of the biggest things for them. So if you can click this at any time, and then you can just go to send us a message here. So we click this one and then just open up a chat with them, and they are very, very responsive. Now, of course, at the beginning, most of the time it's going to be starting with talking with AI, but then, you know, they progress it very quickly. And the AI is actually, they've got a very good built-in AI that is very good for figuring things out, like actually amazing. But you can, at any time, you can also get in and speak to a real person, and they're always fantastic to work with. And so that's been a really big one for me with that. Okay, so that's how to access, you know, the chat feature and support. Now, there's just a few other things here. So if we go here, you've got a support center. So this is just simply, you know, you can click here for a live chat, create a ticket, so an email and community center and everything like that. Okay, so the next one is teams. What do we got here? This is if you wanted to add extra team members. Now, again, this is not something I've ever used personally. I haven't needed, but just know that it's there. Projects, this is where you can split up, you know, websites into projects. Personally, I haven't really ever needed that. Okay, so let's just then now go through some of the things from within your server. So in our server here, if we go to my server, whatever you've called it, you're going to see these credentials here. Most of those you're never going to need to use or need to worry about, but just know that they're there if you ever need to reference them. But the thing that I wanted to show you while we're in here is if we wanted to, so see this one called vertical scaling. At any time, so I've started on 1 gigabyte. Now, if I start to find that, hey, I'm getting good traffic, you know, I feel like I can put it up. Remembering that 2 gigabyte is the best recommended one I'd say to be on as a beginner. But again, 1 is fine for when you're just starting out. But then if you want at any time, just scale it across. And as easy as that hits scale now, you'll go up. And if you keep progressing, you know, you can keep going up. And even at that price, you're getting unbelievable speed, and, you know, you're going to be able to do a lot with 4 gigabyte there. Okay, so that is how we easily scale things. Now, backups here, this has saved me many a times in the past. Like, if, you know, I'm going to show you how you can back things up in WordPress, but this has been, you know, very important. You know, if anything ever did happen, that I know that I've got this backup here. So we've got backup once a day. 1 day is a little bit long if you've done a lot of editing. So I'd look at maybe 6 hours. I wouldn't go any lower than that because it can overload it. But if I just went to 6 hours here, and it'll back up every 6 hours, which, you know, that's still, if something ever did happen, you know, you could go through and it's still going to be in a pretty good state. So essentially you're going to come here, and every 6 hours, there'll be a state here that you can just hit load, and it'll revert it back to your website, back to that state, your server back to that. Okay, so that is how to, you know, back up your entire server. Okay, so another one is settings and packages. Now this is a little bit more advanced, but this here is where we can actually upgrade. So this is usually very difficult to do. So just for those of you out there that, a little bit more on the nerdy end, or on the, you're a little bit more understanding of web development and websites, WordPress, it can be difficult to change the upload size and the memory limit. However, in here, we can change these to, increase them, which sometimes are needed for certain themes on your website. So you can change this upload to, 1000 megabyte upload size. Now you're going to get a warning, but there are occasionally things like that, but let's just go 500 megabyte. But it's just, if you're sometimes importing a big website, you're going to need a gigabyte or something like that to be able to upload it. But that's just why I'm recommending that. So you can upgrade that a bit, and the memory limit, you can increase that. Obviously, you don't want to go really any higher than around 512. But again, most of you aren't going to worry about any of this. But just for those of you there that, want to see that and know that you can do that. And then the rest of this here is, a lot more advanced, and, this is sort of thing that you don't really need to touch. So we can leave all that there. Now, the one thing I will show is if we go to here, manage services, now this one is more of quite an advanced thing, but I just thought, I wanted to make this like the ultimate Cloudways tutorial. So, this is where I go if, something ever goes wrong with my WordPress website, which on a rare occasion, something like that can happen. You can actually go through and restart things like the PHP, like these here. You can, purge the varnish. So that's, your cache and everything like that. And a lot of the time doing that and going through here is, it can actually help with, fixing problems like that. I wouldn't recommend touching any of these ones here, but you can safely restart this one, and this one, and purge this one. The rest of them I wouldn't touch, as it says up here. But again, for the majority of you out there, you are never, ever, ever going to worry about this, but I'm just showing you so you know. Okay. Let's just then quickly go to actual backups of our application. So if I go to my application here, let's go to our main website, and then we go to backup and restore here. And then you'll see that backups will show up. So these are the ones that we are asked it to do every 6 hours. So you'd actually be able to press restore application now, and you can see the time and date that it occurred, okay? And you can also say take backup now, so you could press this, or take a backup now, and you could just do that before you go in and edit things, just to be safe as well. Okay, so now that we've got all that set up, what we're going to go through and do is I'm going to show you firstly inside of the WordPress website that we set up. So to get here, we're going to go through to applications. You'll choose your application. So you come through here, you'll choose your application. So you'll just have, like I have one, pick that, and you'll come to this main area here. Now, what you'll see is application URL. So this is a URL, the default URL right now that our WordPress website is living at. So you click this and you can see the website. Now, of course, we haven't done anything with it. This is just all the bloat stuff that WordPress has on its default install. But you can see officially your website is there ready to play around with. Now, if we go to how do we actually log in? Well, what we do is we go to this one here. So we click admin panel, and it's going to take you to the login of the back end. And you're just going to see here. So you got your username. All you do is copy that and then go Control V, put that one there, and then copy this one as well. And that's your password. And then Control, didn't do the right one. Make sure that copy, and then put that in there. And then I'd recommend clicking Remember Me, so then you don't have to keep logging in, all the time. Okay, so now the other thing I'll show you, just so you know, is the other way to log into your website. It's going to take you to the same thing. But if I click this one, put my website URL there and go WP admin. So we're going to set up a proper domain. Don't worry about that. But for now, you would just do / to your URL that you have, hit that, and then that's going to take us to the same thing we'll just at our login. Okay. So that's just another way to get through to it. Just knowing that your password is going to live inside your application though. So now let's log into our actual website. So we log in here and let's go to here and here we go. Okay, so here we are inside of WordPress. Now this is not a full web design tutorial, but I did want to just show you through WordPress a little bit so you just get a bit of an understanding. So we've got our website installed here. You're going to see that we've got visit site, and this is because it's just installed our actual it's just installed the default theme here. I'm gonna walk you through later in the website my stack and what I recommend, but for now just know that your website is sitting there and we'll be ready to start playing around with it. So you've got things like here where we can add pages, comments. We're not really need to worry about themes. This is where themes are added, and I'm going to walk you through this sort of thing. Plugins, so they essentially extend WordPress and make it more powerful, and then a few of the different settings and everything here. But again, when I do go through the website stack section, I'll walk you through that. But I just wanted to quickly show you how you log into your website now, how you see the back end of WordPress, and so you can start understanding it and using it. But what we need to do now is we want to actually, because we don't really want our website living on this, it's fine for now. You can build out your whole website if you want to on this one here and then change it to your own domain at any time. But for the sake of this tutorial, I want to show it now, how you actually go up and set your proper own domain. Okay. So what we're going to do first, if you haven't purchased a domain name already, we're going to go to a website called Namecheap. Now this is where I recommend buying domains on, because hence the name Namecheap. They are the cheapest out there in terms of pricing for websites. So all we're going to do is, we're just going to go through and purchase our website. So I'm just going to call it Isaac Design Tutorial .io or something like that. Let's see what that costs. I'm trying to find the cheapest one for me, but you're obviously going to pick whatever your domain is. Yeah, I'm not going to be paying $49. Let's settle down there. Let's see what's the cheapest. Isaac Design Tutorial.shop. Yeah, $1.39 for the year. I'm happy to pay for that. And then cool. So if we go through there and just purchase this, so all we would do is we pick the URL, the domain that you want to purchase. So you might have already purchased one, that's perfectly fine. But if you haven't, this is who I'd recommend. So you just got to add to cart, and then we're going to go to skip all these, and then it's going to go to checkout, and then we've got all this here. And then we're going to go through, and then all you'll do is just go through and press confirm order. Cool. Easy as that. We've now purchased our domain. Okay, so once you've done that, what you're going to do is go back to Namecheap. You can click this one here. Once you've purchased that, you're going to go back to Namecheap, and you're going to go to your dashboard, and you're going to go to domain list. And yes, you're going to see there's a crazy amount of domains here, because I've had to purchase, and yet there's a lot of domains here because I've purchased ones for clients, sometimes ones of my own businesses. So yeah, you guys are just going to have one in here, but for me, you're going to find yours, but for me, I've found it here. So we're just going to go through to we're just going through whatever your domain is and hit manage. And then what we're going to do here is we got our inside our domain. So what we want to do now is go to Advanced DNS, and you're going to see this here. Now, essentially, what is DNS? So DNS is, just think of it like the back end that points things in the right direction. That's just me explaining it in really simple terms. So this is just showing where your domain, so this here that you just purchased, where we want to point it to. We could point it to, you know, a Shopify website. We could point it to this WordPress website, you know, whatever it is. This is just the back end of how we point it in the right direction. So it knows where to associate it. So the first thing, so in order to go through now and set up our domain name, now you guys might have purchased it through someone else. That's perfectly fine, but this is still going to be perfectly applicable for you and exactly what you need to do. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is, if there's any CNAME record that's like a parked one, go through and delete that, because what that's going to do is mean that it will just send you to that parked name cheap instead of, you know, Cloudways when we want to set that up. So just delete record, it's perfectly safe, as well as a redirect. We want to delete that. Now what we want to do now is just go to add new record, a record, and then we want to just hit @ so the host is just simply @ and then our IP address. Now what that means is it's actually our server IP. So if I go back here and I go to server, sorry, and then I go back to public IP. So that is your IP, so for your server. And now you just then go back here, easy as that, copy and paste. If your copy and paste option does its job, you know, it sometimes be a bit funny like that. And let me go back here. It said a copy, but anyway, we'll try it again. Put it in there. And then we just simply hit tick that. And then that is done. And then we just want to add one more, and it's just going to be another CNAME. So essentially think of CNAME as what you want to call your website. Okay. So the easiest thing, you know, think of it just as, you know, it knows where it's pulling it from, and now it needs to know, okay, so we know where we're pulling it from and where we're pointing it to, but what do we want to call it? So we just want to call it www. So we just put that in there, and then we're going to put in our website here. So we're going to copy that there without the HTTPS or the HTTP, and just put that there. So then that tells us that when people go to our website, this is what we want to display here. So www.isaacdesigntutorial.shop or whatever yours is, .com, you know, whatever it is. So I just want to put that in there and hit tick. Okay, awesome guys. So you are doing absolutely fantastic. Now, what we want to do now is go back to Cloudways, and we want to go to applications, and we want to go to my website, and what we want to do is go to domain manager, and we want to hit add domain. Now, all we want to do is go through here and type in our domain name. So we're going to type in, just put in that in there, isaacdesign.shop, and then we're going to add another domain, and we're going to put www. That one like that. So we want to add both those in. It's just important because, you know, most websites you'll see in this day and age, if not all, display without www, but you want to just, for best practices, add them both in. So we're just going to do that, and we're going to ignore these. We don't need to do that for those ones, for the Cloudflare. Okay, so isaacdesigntutorial.shop, isaacdesigntutorial.shop, go through there, and then just hit add domains. So they're going to be whatever yours is. Notice I didn't put the HTTP or anything before it. It's just the URL on its own. So I'm just going to hit add domains. Cool. So names are added successfully. So if I go to got it here, now, if we want to go to, okay, so once that's done, all we want to do is we're going to click this one here. So without the www, ideally, because remember, like I said, most websites are without www now, if not all. So you could, if you selected this one as your primary, your website will show up like that. But I recommend in 2026, or whatever you're watching this, modern day, we want to do it without the www. So we just hit this one, make primary. So this is the one instead of that. So that's our default now. We're going to change it to looking like this. So we're changing it to our actual domain. So I just want to hit make primary. Now, it might take a little bit of time to make primary, so don't worry if it takes you, it takes, a minute or so, couple of minutes. Just, it's what it needs to do is propagate everything and make it so it's, officially it's changing your default URL to the main, to your actual domain. So it can sometimes take a bit of time. Awesome. So that is now set as our primary. Now, you're going to see this little Cloudflare thing here disabled. Now, this is completely optional, but if we hit enable Cloudflare here, what that's going to do is just, if we enable Cloudflare, it's going to, expand our speed of our load time of our website even more. So, experience 69% faster load speed, both great. These guys are, teamed up with Cloudflare, and that's just going to make essentially a CDN is like, it's, to not get too technical, but it's just another way to speed up your website even above what Cloudways already is super fast. This can do it even faster. But just so you know, there's an additional $4.99 a month per domain. So it's up to you whether you want to do that. So you just simply click enable Cloudflare and then you'd go for it and you'd be able to set that up for that. But that's just optional if you wanted that. Okay. So now what we want to do now that we set that as our primary, okay, so once we've done that, now you'll see if I go to access details here, look at that. You're going to see that your URL is officially your website, and this one's changed there, which is awesome, and you'll keep your username and password. Now, the only thing you'll notice, if I click this here, you're going to say the site cannot be reached, and it's going to say, there's an issue with it, that you're logged out. Now that firstly will come up because your website is actually still loading. So don't get too worried. So you've changed it from your original DNS to your main DNS. So it will sometimes take time to actually propagate and show up properly. So you're just going to have to just play the waiting game with that. And it could be 30 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, a few hours even, and they'll show up. And most of the time it's pretty quick, but just so you're not getting fearful of that. But what we can do in the meantime is, because even when this loads for us officially, what you're going to find out is when this does work, it's going to still tell us that, there's a security problem, there's no SSL certificate installed, and our SSL certificate, that's what we're going to go through and do now. So whatever it is, an SSL certificate, just think of it as a digital fingerprint that is like security to show, hey, this person's data is safe, this is encrypted, so that it's harder for hackers to get into it and, to take data. And, if you don't add an SSL certificate, your website won't load properly. It'll load with, saying that there's security issues and you have to hit advanced and go through. And, this is a big caveat around like why I'm still not a big fan of like AI builders still where they're at, because you still have to host it somewhere. And if you don't know how to set up an SSL certificate, well, you're not going to be able to, it's not going to work properly and things like that. So I'm going to do in the future, there are ways that you can start bringing even AI build websites to Cloudways, and might do a tutorial on that in the future if people be interested in that. But I still personally think WordPress is at the moment the best. But in terms of your website, you always need, when you make a website, it needs to have an SSL certificate. Now, in the past, when I first started like this, nearly 10 years ago, this was very difficult before I discovered these guys. Setting up an SSL certificate was very complex and confusing. Now it's so easy, and well, and a lot of, actually, I'll just let you know this as well, that a lot of um, domain providers, so hosting providers, will actually charge you money. Like they might have, some kind of cheap plan, but then they'll charge you money once you want to go put an SSL certificate, which you need, and they'll make you pay. But you get completely free access to, as part of your plan, you get SSL installed. And it's super easy. It's click a button. So all you're going to do is just choose this Let's Encrypt here. And then we're just going to go this one here. I'm going to put in your email. I'm just going to put in this one here. And then you're just going to pick a domain name. So we're going to put in our domain name that we had there before, plus add another one. So hit add domain. And what do we reckon? We're going to put in the www one. Okay. So just hit www dot that. And then we're just going to go through there and just hit install certificate. Now, mine has actually come back. This is a good teachable moment. Mine has actually come back with an error that it hasn't been able to install the SSL certificate yet. Now, this is very, very common if you go to do it very quick. And usually I would give it time, but I've been doing it for this tutorial for you guys. So you might have to wait 30 minutes to an hour after changing the domain across to your official domain before it'll actually be able to propagate onto the internet. And so that you can actually add the SSL. So you'll know that your website is working correctly when you can go to here, hit access details. And when you open this one, it will actually load your website. So at the moment, mine's still not loading my site. So I need to still wait a little longer, and then I'll be able to install my SSL certificate. So it's just a bit of a waiting game. It's a bit annoying, but this is just part of websites. This is just a thing that cannot be avoided. Over all these years that I've been making websites, this is just inevitable part of it. Okay, so having waited a little bit of time, now I've waited around half an hour, something like that. If I go back here now, you'll see that it'll actually load this here where it says your connection is not private, da 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 da. And this is exactly why we need to add an SSL certificate, because this means that anyone that visits our website right now, if we don't have an SSL certificate installed, what's going to happen is it's going to actually show that, this error message here, which is most people are going to be turned off by it, and they're not going to click advanced and then proceed to this anyway. Because if I press this, what's going to happen is now it'll actually allow me to see the website. But if I ever go back to it, it's always going to show me the error for it. So what we're going to do, so that you could get around it, like they would be able to do that, but as soon as they exit the website and go back to it, they're going to get the error message again. So that's why we need to put in our SSL. And lucky, it is super easy. So we're going to go back to here. We're going to do it. All we do is put in a domain name. So Isaac Design Tutorials. So we'll do this again. .com. at gmail.com, and then we're going to put in our domains. So we're going to put in our two domains here. So our first one without all that, and then add a domain, copy that, add another one like we did before. We do this, put www.that, and then install certificate. Don't worry about this wildcard. That's above, you don't really need that for these anyway. So we're just going to hit install certificate. And look at that. Our certificate is successfully installed here. Got the big green tick. Awesome. So you can see now it's installed certificate with Spice 9th of September 2026. And the good thing is it'll just automatically renew as long as that's ticked, which by default it is. So we've sorted our SSL certificate. So it should give yourself another big pat on the back, because that is usually something that is very complex, that is massively overlooked. It used to be so difficult, and with other hosting providers, it is very difficult to do, a lot more confusing. These guys, another reason I love them, and as easy as that. we now have an SSL certificate installed. Okay, so then you'll see if I go here and I have a look on my website now, it's got connection secure with the padlock, which means that my website is officially secure, and it's going to be indexed by Google properly. It won't be pushed down. That's another thing, but SSL is so important, because if you don't have that, Google will not rank you for SEO and everything. So it's another reason you need to have it. And also means that people are going to come to your website when we actually, when I show you how to build it out, they're going to come to the website, and then you're going to, they're not going to have an error message. It's going to turn them off, because that's going to be a big no-no, of course. So that is that done now. There's something that I feel is really important to do and let you guys know, is that you're going to see up here. So you've signed up. If you've gone through my affiliate link, you've gone through the, the token, you will sign up with a free trial. Now that's fantastic. While you're building it out for the first day or two, you can stay on the free trial. However, as I said earlier, you want to make sure that you actually go through and set up your actual, your details on there, because if you don't, what's going to happen is when the 3-day trial is up, they don't originally ask for your bank details. However, what happens is once that trial expires, you'll actually lose access to your server. And don't worry, you can get it back. Just go in here and you say, hey, I didn't put my details in, and so my server was taken down. They'll just be able to restore the backup for you. But that's a bit of a nuisance. So what I recommend is actually just going through and adding in your details now. It's going to save you a lot of headache. And also, just so you know, there's no other hosting providers where you get to just trial their hosting for free. So it's amazing they allow that, and it's great for free where they allow you to do it. Mainly they set it up so that you can migrate a full website to them if you're going to do that, which I'll show later on. But you normally will always have to pay for your hosting right away per month. So that's why I just say it's a no-brainer to set it up. So all you would do is just hit this one here, get full access, and it's going to take you to your billing, and then it's going to go to settings, and then I'm obviously not going to do it and show it on the screen, but you're just going to go through and put in PayPal or credit card. I personally just do PayPal. Feels that's what I do, but credit card you can do, put that in there, and then just hit proceed. And what that's going to do is that it will be able to start charging you as soon as the free trial is up. So you still get the 3 days free trial, but it just means you're not going to have that headache of when, you've put this work into building out your website, and then, it ends up, being temporarily, taken down. So again, just go through, put your details in. You'll still be 3 days if you've got time left, and then it'll just start as normal, no headache. It's completely optional, but it is highly recommended. Okay, so now we are essentially done with the most difficult part of setting up Cloudways. Now you should be super proud of yourself for getting yourself this far. You now know how to set up your own server, set up multiple applications, how to install your own domain name, and how to install a certificate, which is usually very complex and difficult for, when you're first beginner. And so you've done something that is, should definitely give yourself a pat on the back. Now, the last few things I'm just going to do now is just go through and show you my recommended stack for WordPress, for what I'd recommend in terms of best practices for WordPress that are going to work the best with Cloudways as well. And so this part's going to be optional for those that might already know what they're doing. But, this is just something that I feel is important to do. So you're not, going through this tutorial left empty-handed and knowing how to set up a WordPress website. Obviously, I've got a more detailed, longer tutorial on everything WordPress and setting up your own tutorial. So check in my channel for that. Now, I just want to quickly go through some of the basics of what I recommend for WordPress. So we're going to click WP admin here, and we're going to log ourselves in. I'm going to go, obviously we want to copy this, put that in there, Control V, and then go to the next one, copy that there, and put that in. Command V, put that in, and it remembered me, and then log ourselves in. Okay, so this is inside of WordPress here. Now, I'm just going to go through my recommended stack of what I use when I build out websites for myself and for clients. So the first thing I want to recommend is getting yourself Elementor. So plugins, as I said earlier in the video, are essentially ways to enhance WordPress. So we've got a plugin, add plugin, and we're going to just type in Elementor, and then you're going to see Elementor page builder here, and we're going to pick this one just here. We're going to go install now, and then we're going to hit activate, and then what you're going to do is hit continue as guest, and then you're going to go skip. Doesn't really matter. You can do this if you want, but I'm just going to pick, whatever it is and hit continue. And then whatever is applicable to you here. Let's just say for you guys, it'd be I'm just getting started. And then we're going to just have to install Hello Biz. Make sure you do this. Don't skip this step, because this is set up and built for working with Elementor. So we're just going to hit this one here, continue with this thing. And then all we're just going to do is hit continue with free. And then we're just hitting here blank site. And this is where we're going to come in here. So this is Elementor Page Builder. Now I've got whole tutorials on building out a website with Elementor Page Builder, so I'm not going to go into it here. What am going to show you though is another thing to add on to make it much quicker and easier for us to build out our sites quickly. So if we go back to here, and we go to exit to WordPress, and then we go this one as well, back here, and we're going to install another plugin. So we're going to hit add plugin. Then you're going to type in starter templates. And then what you're going to do here is you're going to go to this one here and install now. And then you're going to hit activate. And then you're just going to go to build with templates. So you've got an AI builder. I don't recommend it. It's got a long way to go. So I'll just go to build with templates and then choose Elementor, and then it's going to sync the library. And now look at this, guys. So we have got access to all these here. So let's go maybe later. I'm going to change this to, can we change it here? Doesn't have just a free only anymore. I swear it did in the past, but anyway. Any of you that have premium are obviously a paid version of it, but there is plenty of fantastic free ones here that you can look through that are just going to save you a lot of time making a website yourself. So let's just have a look here. Look at that great one there. Construction company, an electrical company there, another base one there. What have we got here? Lifestyle blogger. So I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out which one you want to use, but I will just show you how it all works. So you've got all these here. So if I click on this one here, and you can have a look. So that's what it would look like there. Nice little starting website there. I don't mind that, but I'm going to go back again. I'm going to go back again. So you can click on any of these, have a bit of a look at them, what they'll look like. Amazing in terms of speeding up building ourselves a website, and there are a lot of great ones for free. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back now, and I'm going to go to a page. So I'm going to show you how to make a page. You go all pages, add page, and I'm going to make up a home page. Oh, let's get rid of this. Let's just go to a home page, edit with Elementor. And then I want to, so this is our website here. The first thing you want to do for our home page is go page settings, change this to hide title. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just go through and select a template. So I'm going to say I like this one. There's plenty for you guys to look through. You've got so many, like hundreds of free ones. Obviously the premium are premium, but there's hundreds of great free ones. But I'm just going to go with a nice simple one for this tutorial. We'll click this one. You can have a look at the different pages, what they'll look like, but we're just going to do a home page. I'm going to click this one here. I like that. and I was going to hit import template. Now, as easy as that, guys, we've gone through and imported our home page. Now, we'll just go through it. We can change the title here. So this is your website here. So we could just say, you know, your website. We could remove, if I could spell website. We can play around with things. We can delete this one, right click, delete. This one here, we could drag it under, drag it just below that, and you'll see you can play around with it, you know, change these around and make yourself a website from there. Again, remembering that I have a full detailed tutorial that goes deep into actually using Elementor and everything. But for this tutorial, I just wanted to basically just show you, so I didn't leave you high and dry. So you now know how to make a decent looking base for your website that you can start playing around with and building out for your Cloudways website, if that is, you know, if you haven't already built one out. Okay, so next we're going to do, so that's Elementor and starter templates of one of my recommended stack. We're going to go back to WordPress now and hit leave. Actually, just before I do that, it's a good reminder. So make sure you hit publish so that your homepage is published that we just made. And we're going to go back here. We're going to exit the WordPress. Now, we'll exit the WordPress again. Now, just for, I just got to remind it as well. If we go to settings, reading, so that we have this, so the homepage was made, we choose home. So that's a static homepage, means that now our homepage will go to that, what we just created or whatever you created. So the homepage is save. And now if I click here, we go to our homepage. There's our website that we're building. Look at that, guys. So what I want to do now is go back to the dashboard here. And we're going to go to, this is another one here. So we go popular. Okay, so then we're going back here, and what we're going to do is also get this one, all-in-one WP migration and backup. So this is fantastic for backing up our site, as well as, you know, obviously we know that we've set it up, the Cloudways is going to do it, but this is from the WordPress end. I recommend doing this as well. So we're just going to go install now, and then hit activate. Okay, then once it's installed, you're going to see all-in-one WP. And what essentially this is we can do export. So we could do export our site, and we just go file, and what will happen is it'll export our entire site to then, you know, if we want to transfer it across. So that's from the end of, you know, if you already had one, a WordPress website, and that's, you know, we want to transfer it across or transfer it to another application like you've learned how to do. But the other one is also, you've got import with backups here. So at any time we can create a backup, and then it's going to do an export of your whole thing and then back it up. Okay, so that's a good one to do, you know, before you're going to do some big changes or anything. It's just a good one to have there for you. Okay, so one last plugin I'm going to show you is if I were to go to plugins, add plugin here. If we go back to popular, now, if we go back to popular, you're going to see that there's something called Lightspeed Cache. Now, back in the day, this is what I used to use for, you know, speeding up my website. But you also get, as part of Cloudways, when you install it, they install Breeze. If you go to your plugins, you'll notice that installed plugins, we go here, we're going to see one already installed called Breeze, and that is from Cloudways, which does varnishing, caching, and everything. And, you know, it works well. So that'll be optional. You'd have to deactivate that one, and you'd have to then go back to here and install that if you wanted it. If you wanted to install that plugin, but I'd recommend you can just go with Breeze for that. So the one last one that I'd recommend by my stack is Yoast SEO. This is what I use for SEO for all my websites when I'm making for clients and for myself. It makes doing SEO for my website, for websites, super easy. So what we're just going to do is install now, and then we're just going to hit activate, and then cook. So we're just going to hit start configuration. I'll just briefly show you. So start SEO optimization, hit continue. Okay, so this one we'll just hit save and close for now, and then all that, you know, The rest of this, we can leave that, save and continue. Yeah, rest of that, save and continue. Awesome. So what I want to do is just quickly show all pages, just so you understand how to use it. Click here and go to edit. And then what you're going to see down here is if we go to click this one here, drag that up, you're going to see this is now how our homepage shows up. Now I've got a full detailed thing on how to do SEO for your website for using this software, but essentially you just want to have you can go through ChatGPT and get this, but you just want to delete these here and then type in your own. So you would put in, ideally you put in like your, what keywords and everything that are representative for your website, for your business, and then the same thing for the meta description. And then that's going to actually make it show up properly instead of, as it says here, Google will try and figure it out on its own. Okay, so that is just really important there. Again, I've got more detailed videos on how to do that. Why does it do that? Alrighty, guys. So that is officially the end of the tutorial. You've now fully set up Cloudways. You understand how to use it. You've got yourself a skill for life. So I just want you to pat yourself on the back one final time, because you've just done something not a lot of people do, and that's you made it to the very end of this video and you gained for yourself a very strong skill, because now you know how to create your own server in Cloudways, multiple acts, and there's so many, and you know how to set up DNS, you've set up your own domain, you know the basics of WordPress. You put yourself a long way ahead, and it's going to help you so much with whatever business it is that you're starting, because as I said right at the beginning of this tutorial, that speed is everything when it comes to a website, and Cloudways is easily one of the best and fastest hosting that you can get for yourself. So I truly hope that you found a lot of value in this tutorial. But yeah, that is the end of the tutorial. I thank you very much for watching through, and I truly hope it was valuable to you and it supports you in your business or your agency, your freelancing, whatever it is that brought you to this video and this tutorial. I genuinely hope that you've taken a lot of value and it supports you on your journey. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hit that like button if you've taken value from it. Subscribe for more, because there's far more videos to come. And I wish you the very best with your business. Cheers.